The seat jolted forward just as the cabin lights dimmed, and Lily's shoulders stiffened before she said a word. Davis felt it through his own spine, a dull thud that traveled from the metal frame into bone, the kind of small violence that announces itself by pretending to be nothing. The engines hummed with a steady impatience, a low vibration that filled the air along with recycled oxygen and the faint smell of coffee gone cold. Lily breathed in slowly, the way she always did when she was choosing calm on purpose, and turned her head an inch to the left. A red heel hung over the top of Lily's seat like a punctuation mark. The leg attached to it stretched from the row behind, angled sideways, careless and claiming space that didn't belong to it. The heel tapped once, twice, then settled, pressing down as if testing how much the seat would give. Davis watched Lily's fingers curl against the armrest, nails pale, posture still composed. Around them, the plane felt smaller, the aisle narrower, the unspoken rules of shared space suddenly fragile. Behind them sat Eva, 23, and certain the world would rearrange itself for her. She lounged sideways, red dress creased at the hip, phone loose in one hand, the other arm draped over the back of her seat. Her hair fell in glossy waves that caught the window light. Next to her, in the window seat, Amanda filled the space with her presence alone, pink blouse pulled tight across her chest, white pants spotless, lips pressed into a line that suggested she was already offended by something she hadn't yet named. Lily turned farther now, enough to meet Eva's eyes. "Excuse me," she said, her voice even, polite, pitched to be heard without inviting attention. "Your foot is on my seat." Eva glanced down as if noticing it for the first time, then smiled without warmth. "It's barely touching," she said, dragging the heel a fraction higher. "Relax." The word landed wrong. Davis felt it land wrong. Lily held her gaze, waiting, offering the pause that often encouraged decency to step forward and do its job. It didn't. Eva shrugged and looked back to her phone, thumb already moving, heel settling in again with a deliberate weight that made Lily's seat tremble. Amanda huffed. "People are so sensitive," she muttered, loud enough to be heard. She leaned closer to Eva, stage whispering while making sure the row ahead could catch every syllable. "Everyone thinks they own the plane." Lily faced forward again, jaw set. The plane banked slightly, a gentle tilt that sent a ripple of motion through the cabin. The heel pressed harder, then shifted, the pressure migrating to the exact spot between Lily's shoulder blades. Davis leaned forward, his voice low. "Hey," he said, calm by effort, not by accident. "Could you move your foot?" She's asked nicely. Eva looked up, eyes flicking over him, assessing. "Why are you talking to me?" she asked. She already did. "Right," Davis said. "And you didn't." Amanda straightened, eyes sharp. "Don't take that tone with my daughter." "I'm not," Davis said. He kept his hands visible, resting on his knees, aware of how quickly small things could be misread. "We just want the seat clear." A murmur traveled through the rows like a breeze through dry leaves. Someone shifted, someone else coughed. The flight attendant at the front paused, hand on a cart, glancing back with professional curiosity. Lily closed her eyes for half a second, then opened them, steadier than before. "I don't want trouble," she said, turning again, voice still level. "I just need you to move your foot." Eva laughed, a short, bright sound that carried farther than it should have. "You're making it trouble," she said. "If you don't like flying, don't fly." Amanda nodded, satisfied. "Exactly." The heel scraped as Eva adjusted, the sole now planted more firmly on the seat back, the pressure unmistakable. The vibration traveled through the frame and into Lily's body again, sharper this time, timed perfectly with a bump of turbulence that made a few passengers gasp. The seat in front of Lily rattled. Her head bobbed forward and back. Davis saw the flash of pain cross her face before she smoothed it away. That did it. Not the rudeness, not the entitlement, but the moment Eva chose to push, to turn a request into a challenge. Davis rose halfway from his seat, enough to be seen, not enough to loom. "Okay," he said louder now, but still controlled. "This isn't acceptable." Eva's phone was up in an instant. "Wow," she said, angling the camera. "Are you threatening me?" "I'm asking you to stop," Davis said. He felt the eyes on him. felt the room decide whether to be a witness or a wall. "Please." Amanda scoffed. "Unbelievable," she said. "We're being harassed." The flight attendant was moving now, steps quick and practiced, smile fixed, but eyes alert. "Is there a problem here?" she asked, stopping beside Lily's row. "Yes," Lily said, before anyone else could. She gestured, small and precise. "Her foot is on my seat. I've asked her to move it." Eva cut in. "She's exaggerating." Amanda leaned toward the attendant. "They're making a scene." The attendant glanced down, took in the red heel, the angle, the clear violation of common sense if not yet of policy. "Ma'am," she said to Eva, still polite. "Feet need to stay off other passenger seats." Eva sighed theatrically and slid her foot down, the sole leaving a faint mark on the leather as it went. "There," she said. "Happy?" Lily nodded once. "Thank you." The attendant smiled and moved on, the tension loosening a notch, but not enough. Eva's heel hovered near the seatback, a threat disguised as restlessness. Amanda leaned back, satisfied but simmering. Davis sat down slowly, pulse loud in his ears, aware that something had shifted and not settled. For a few minutes, there was peace. The engines droned. The plane leveled. Lily's shoulders eased. Davis let his breath out. Then the heel crept up again, slower this time, careful, as if testing the limits of consequence. It touched the seatback, light at first, then heavier, pressing in a way that said this wasn't ignorance. It was intention. Lily didn't turn around. She met Davis's eyes instead, a silent question passing between them. He saw resolve there and restraint, and the familiar calculation of how much energy a moment deserved. Around them, passengers watched without pretending not to, waiting to see which way the story would go. The heel settled fully, the seat trembled, and Davis understood that this wasn't over, not even close. The plane shuddered again, a light rattle that sent cups trembling in their holders. Lily's breath caught, then steadied. She adjusted her posture, sitting taller, refusing to fold. Davis felt a familiar heat behind his ribs, the old instinct to protect colliding with the newer discipline to choose the right moment. He scanned the aisle, the rows, the faces that flickered between sympathy and self-preservation. A man across the aisle pretended to read. A woman 2 rows up frowned openly, lips tight. Someone near the window lifted a phone, lowered it again. Eva smiled to herself, a private victory. She leaned farther sideways, claiming more room, the red heel planted with confidence. Amanda whispered something to her, a grin tugging at her mouth, as if daring the universe to object. The cabin air felt thinner now, the quiet heavier. Lily reached up and pressed the call button, then paused, finger hovering. She withdrew her hand and looked forward, choosing patience one more time. "Could you please stop?" she said, not turning. Her voice carried, calm but firmer, the kind that expected to be obeyed. Eva laughed again, louder, and nudged the seat with her heel for emphasis. "It's a seat," she said. "It can handle it." The word handle echoed in Davis's mind, absurd and infuriating. He watched Lily's reflection in the darkened window, the way her eyes hardened without losing their composure. She had endured enough small invasions in her life to recognize this one for what it was. Davis felt the plane's rules hovering between them like an unspoken contract, one that only worked if someone insisted on it. He stood fully this time. Not abruptly, not theatrically, but clearly. The movement drew the attendant's attention again, and the attention of the cabin. "This needs to stop," he said, voice steady, loud enough to carry without shouting. "Right now." Eva's phone came up once more, the lens pointed squarely at him. "Say that again," she said, eyes bright. "You sound aggressive." Amanda leaned into the aisle, blocking it just enough to be noticed. "We don't feel safe," she said, pitching her voice toward authority. Davis didn't look at the phone. He looked at the heel, at the seat, at Lily. He thought about the long flight ahead, the inevitability of more bumps, the way small acts of disrespect could turn into something worse if left unchecked. He thought about timing, about witnesses, about consequences that didn't require raising his voice or his hands. The attendant approached, faster now, a second attendant behind her. The first met Davis's eyes, reading his posture, his restraint. "Sir," she said gently, "please sit while we address this." Davis nodded and sat, the decision forming even as he complied. The heel remained. Lily closed her eyes for a brief moment, then opened them, ready. The attendants paused beside Eva's row, and the cabin leaned in, breath held. The attendants stopped beside Eva's row, their presence cooling the air by a few degrees. The lead attendant spoke first, voice calm and professional, asking Eva to keep her feet down and reminding her that seat interference was a safety issue. Eva nodded with exaggerated patience, lowering her heel just enough to comply while her phone remained lifted. Len still hungry. Amanda crossed her arms and stared straight ahead, lips pressed tight, broadcasting injury without evidence. The attendants waited, watching for compliance to become real, then moved on when the heel stayed down for 3 full breaths. The cabin exhaled. Davis felt the moment pass without resolving, like a storm cloud drifting but not dispersing. For several minutes, nothing happened. The plane steadied. A beverage cart rattled past. Lily kept her posture tall, eyes forward, hands folded. Davis leaned close and murmured that they could call the attendant again if it resumed. Lily nodded, but he could tell she didn't want to escalate without cause. She had learned long ago that being composed sometimes invited people to test how far they could push before consequence appeared. Eva seemed to sense the same thing. Her foot crept back up slowly, the heel grazing leather with a soft scrape that made Davis's jaw tighten. This time the pressure was rhythmic, a gentle tap-tap that pretended to be accidental. Lily's seat shivered in time. She pressed the call button. The chime rang once, bright and unmistakable. Eva froze, then smirked. Amanda rolled her eyes. The attendant returned, listening as Lily explained what had resumed. Eva protested immediately, voice rising, insisting the turbulence was to blame. The attendant crouched, checked the angle, and asked Eva to move her foot again, firmer now. Eva complied with a sigh that sounded like martyrdom. Amanda muttered about people who needed attention. When the attendant left, Eva leaned toward her mother and whispered something that made Amanda smile. The heel stayed down, but the phone came up again, angled discreetly now, recording sideways. Davis noticed the tiny red dot. He felt a shift inside him, a clarity. This wasn't about comfort anymore. It was about narrative. Eva wanted to control it. He reached into his pocket and checked his own phone, turning off the sound and opening the camera without raising it. He set it face down on his thigh, recording audio at least, capturing the cadence of voices, the words chosen. A bump of turbulence jolted the plane. Someone yelped. The seatbelt sign chimed on. Eva used the moment to speak loudly. "I'm being targeted," she said, glancing at her phone. "All because I stretched my leg." A few heads turned. Amanda leaned into the aisle again, blocking it more clearly this time. "We're uncomfortable," she said. "This man keeps staring." Davis felt the accusation hit like a slap. He didn't respond. He tilted his phone slightly, bringing the lens up just enough to frame the aisle and the seatbacks without pointing it at faces. Lily's hand found his wrist, grounding him. Her eyes said wait. He waited. The attendant returned, now joined by the lead attendant from the front. The lead listened to both sides, asking short, precise questions. Eva talked over Lily, over Amanda, over herself, the story shifting with each sentence. Lily spoke once calmly, describing exactly what had happened, when and how often. The lead attendant looked at the seat, the scuff on the leather, the angle that couldn't be blamed on turbulence. She nodded and said she would make a note. The words carried weight. Eva's smile faltered. As the attendants moved away, a man across the aisle leaned forward and quietly told them he'd seen the foot on the seat multiple times. A woman 2 rows up added that she'd heard the comments. The cabin had chosen a side without cheering. Davis lowered his phone, heart steady now. He didn't need to say anything. The story was assembling itself. Eva noticed the shift and reacted badly. She laughed too loud and said something about people being dramatic. Amanda snapped that everyone should mind their own business. The lead attendant stopped and turned back, her expression no longer indulgent. She asked Eva to stop recording other passengers and to keep her voice down. Eva protested, citing her rights, but the attendant cut her off, explaining airline policy with a finality that brooked no debate. The flight settled into an uneasy quiet. Eva slumped back, simmering. Amanda stared at the seat back in front of her, as if willing it to move. Lily exhaled slowly. Davis squeezed her hand. He felt a strange calm, the sense that the momentum had shifted away from noise and toward consequence. Then Eva did something small and stupid. She stood to use the restroom while the seatbelt sign was still on, forcing the aisle to pause. As she passed, she brushed Lily's seat with her hand, not hard enough to be obvious, just enough to send another tremor through it. Lily stiffened. Davis caught it on camera this time, clear as day. The lead attendant saw it too. She told Eva to sit immediately. Eva rolled her eyes and complied, but the damage was done. From then on, everything was procedural. Names were taken. Seat numbers recorded. A note was made to notify the captain. Eva's confidence drained with each quiet step of authority. Amanda's bluster softened into tight silence. The plane began its descent. The city lights spreading below like a map of consequences waiting to be drawn. As the wheels touched down, applause scattered through the cabin, thin and relieved. The attendants made an announcement asking everyone to remain seated. Eva stiffened. Amanda whispered urgently. Lily sat straight, hands steady. Davis turned off his recording and slid his phone back into his pocket. The work already done. The attendants approached Eva's row again, this time with purpose. "We need you to remain seated," the lead said. Eva opened her mouth to argue, then closed it when she saw the second attendant standing firm behind her. Across the aisle, the man who had spoken up met Davis's eyes and nodded once. The cabin felt balanced on a fulcrum, quiet and expectant, as the plane rolled to a stop and the door remained closed. The door stayed closed after the wheels stopped, the quiet stretching until it became its own sound. The lead attendant spoke softly into the intercom near the front, then walked back with measured steps. Eva sat rigid, chin lifted as if posture alone could rewrite the last hour. Amanda leaned toward her, whispering urgently, hands fluttering. Lily kept her gaze forward, breathing slow, while Davis watched the aisle and felt the moment settle into place. The plane felt less like a vehicle now, and more like a room where decisions were about to be made. The lead attendant stopped beside Eva's row and asked for her boarding pass. Eva hesitated, eyes darting, then handed it over with a sharp motion. Amanda bristled, demanding to know why they were being singled out. The attendant explained evenly that there had been repeated interference with another passenger's seat and refusal to comply with crew instructions. Her tone held no accusation, just fact. Eva laughed once, brittle, and said it was ridiculous. The attendant nodded and said the captain had been informed. A murmur rippled through the cabin, not gossip, but recognition. People straightened, attentive. The second attendant stood nearby, presence firm. Eva's phone lay face down now, useless. Amanda tried again, voice rising, claiming misunderstanding, claiming targeting. The attendant listened without interrupting, then said they would need to wait for ground staff. The words landed with finality. Minutes passed. The jet bridge connected with a dull thud. The door opened, but no one moved. Lily's shoulders loosened slightly. Davis felt a quiet satisfaction that didn't need celebration. He had wanted calm, not spectacle, and calm was what arrived. Ground staff appeared, uniforms crisp, eyes scanning. The lead attendant briefed them quickly. One of the staff asked Eva to stand. She did, color draining from her face, then flooding back as indignation. "What about them?" Eva demanded, pointing forward. They started it. The staff member glanced at Lily, then at the attendant, then back to Eva. "Ma'am," she said, "we'll address concerns in order." Amanda scoffed and tried to stand too, but was asked to remain seated. The request was polite and non-negotiable. Amanda sank back, lips thin. Eva was guided into the aisle, not touched, just directed. She protested loudly enough for the cabin to hear, insisting she had been respectful. A few passengers shook their heads. One cleared his throat and said he'd seen everything. The staff member thanked him and continued. Eva's voice cracked. The narrative she'd been building collapsed under the weight of witnesses who didn't need prompting. Lily finally turned, meeting Eva's eyes for the first time since landing. There was no triumph there, only steadiness. Eva looked away. The staff member asked Lily if she would like to step forward to answer a few questions. Lily nodded and stood, smoothing her blazer. Davis rose with her, then sat back when the staff indicated only she was needed. He watched her walk down the aisle, composed, and felt proud in a way that had nothing to do with winning. The questions were brief. Lily answered them precisely. Times, actions, responses. The staff member took notes, thanked her, and invited her to return to her seat. Eva was asked to wait near the front. Amanda called out, demanding to accompany her daughter. The answer was no. The door remained open, the cabin still. When Eva returned to her seat to retrieve her bag, her movements were smaller, careful. She avoided looking at anyone. Amanda whispered furiously, then fell silent as another staff member approached and asked for her boarding pass as well. Amanda sputtered, indignant, then complied. The staff member explained that both would be spoken to. Amanda's confidence wavered. Passengers were finally released row by row, starting from the front. As people passed, some offered Lily small nods, quiet words. She acknowledged them with a smile that didn't linger. Davis stood when it was their turn, letting the aisle clear ahead. Eva and Amanda were still seated, watched now, contained by procedure. As Davis and Lily reached the door, the lead attendant met their eyes and said thank you. The words were simple and sincere. Lily replied in kind. Outside the plane, the terminal air felt cooler, wider. Davis took Lily's hand and felt the tension drain from his own shoulders. They didn't linger. They walked together, steps in sync, the noise of the terminal rising around them. Behind them, voices carried, controlled and official. Davis didn't turn. He didn't need to see the end to know it had arrived. The rules had held. The story had found its shape without shouting. At the edge of the concourse, Lily paused and leaned into him for a brief moment, then straightened. "Thank you," she said, not for standing up, but for knowing when not to. Davis nodded. They moved on, blending into the crowd, leaving behind a lesson that didn't require applause, only memory. As Davis and Lily disappear into the flow of the terminal, the noise of the airport swallowing them whole, the lesson lingers behind like a quiet echo. No shouting, no revenge, just accountability doing what it always does when given enough light. Sometimes karma doesn't arrive loudly. Sometimes it simply shows up on time. And if this story made you feel something, anger, relief, or satisfaction, let us know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed the story. Subscribe for more gripping narratives like this, and turn on notifications so you never miss what happens next.